okay, you don't get to wear the independent label anymore. You are Republican, right-wing, apparatchiks, and Trump hacks. Like, that's what you are. So own it and live with it and deal with it.
Joe Rogan gets shut down by Krystal Ball for becoming a MAGA fanboy. And it was brutal.
Bottom line is, it's a rich guy in a bubble who goes off of like vibes versus any sort of facts or ideology.
Krystal Ball didn't hold back when she called out Joe Rogan for his dramatic shift to the right. She pointed out that the Joe Rogan we once knew, someone who challenged the system, has now become a cheerleader for billionaires and far-right figures.
You can't go endorse Trump, have him on your podcast, not push back, have all of his sycophants on your podcast, launder their reputations, go schmooze with them at the inauguration, and then still come back, oh, I'm an independent guy. No, you're not.
According to Krystal, it's no longer about asking tough questions or pushing boundaries. Instead, Rogan seems more interested in siding with the very people he used to criticize. So why did Joe Rogan change his stance, and why is Krystal calling him out? Let's dive into the details.
I still feel like torn, not really torn at this point, but I feel bad because Joe was really good to me in soccer when we launched Breaking Points, right?
Krystal Ball recently appeared on The Vanguard where she talked about Joe Rogan's shift in political views, something that's been getting a lot of attention. She used to give him the benefit of the doubt, but now she's looking at how things have changed and reflecting on what's happened.
I think quite emblematic, actually, of the Bernie to Trump pipeline.
Krystal sees Joe's turn to the right as part of a bigger trend where people who once supported progressive causes like Bernie Sanders are now moving closer to Trump. She thinks this shift isn't really about strong beliefs, it's more about vibes.
Where it was like, shifted right from backing Bernie Sanders to now based on the vibes. I think he feels like it's cool and punk rock, he even said this on his show, to support Trump and all this parade of horribles around him, and is now his podcast is the number one platform where oligarchs go on to launder their reputations and try to enlist MAGA in some pro-rich class war.
It seems like Joe is going along with Trump because it feels cool or rebellious, almost like he's trying to be punk. The problem, Krystal points out, is that Joe's podcast, which used to be a place for open, honest conversations, is now just a platform for wealthy people to clean up their image and get support from the right-wing crowd.
By telling them it's really about some cultural, they're debanking conservatives, that's why we need to get rid of the CFPB.
Krystal doesn't hold back in calling Joe out. She says that Joe's refusal to admit how much he's changed is frustrating. Even though he openly supports Trump and gives him a platform, Joe still insists he's independent, which Krystal thinks is no longer believable.
It's terrible. It's really sad to see. It's bad for the country. And I think it was interesting to me, probably the most revealing thing I saw is, I don't know if you guys covered this, I'm sure you saw it though, is he recently was like, I'm not really a Republican or a Democrat. They all have some good
bullshit.
ideas. It's like, dude, you baked, that cake is baked now.
She argues that Joe's now firmly in the Republican camp, surrounded by powerful political and business figures. The idea that he's somehow still outside the system is laughable. In her view, Joe's now part of the system he once seemed to oppose, and he's using his image to help out the elites while pretending to be on the side of regular people.
This is who you are now. You are an establishment Republican in league with the most powerful people on the planet. All your conspiracy theorizing about how the powerful want to do this, those are your guys. Those are the guys that you're giving a platform to and helping in their plans of extraction and exploitation and world domination.
Krystal also points out that Joe's wealth and independence could have made him someone who really challenged the system, but instead he's chosen to align with those in power. Joe, with his massive platform, has become more vulnerable to media manipulation, believing narratives that fit his personal biases. As a result, Krystal believes he's amplifying harmful ideas that don't serve the public good.
Like I said, it's just a rich guy in a bubble whose obvious media consumption habits are horrific, is incredibly gullible, will believe anything that happens to fit into his worldview and not check it before it rolls out of his mouth whatsoever.
And Krystal's not alone in her frustration. The guys from the Vanguard, Gavin and Zach, also question why someone with so much power and money like Joe would feel the need to keep catering to the elite.
I don't know if you would attribute it to him being a lot more effective of a con man than I ever realized. And here he is now. He sees an opportunity and he wants to be the biggest and he wants to be relevant and he doesn't want to fall off. And so he goes for it. But he's completely abandoned and betrayed everything that I feel like once made him special. And he's just become a mouthpiece for...
They feel betrayed, especially since Joe used to present himself as someone who would challenge the political system, but now it seems like he's part of it. This raises a big question. Why does Joe, who doesn't need political backing, keep supporting the very people he once criticized? With his wealth and influence, he could have been a voice for the people, holding both Republicans and Democrats accountable. But instead, he's aligning with Trump supporters and right-wing figures, and not holding anyone responsible for their actions.
And, he's always had this shtick of, I'm just a comedian, you can't take me too serious. And it's like, okay, that's all well and good until you're interviewing the fucking president of the United States. And then guess what? You do have some responsibility to, do some research and plan some pushbacks and have some difficult questions.
Krystal and others argue that Joe's shift is a bit of a sellout move, especially when you think about his past claims of being part of the punk rock movement. Punk rock is all about rebellion, defying authority, and challenging the status quo. But supporting Trump, Krystal says, is the opposite of that. Trump's politics are all about keeping things the same, not changing them, and yet Joe seems to have embraced it, thinking it's somehow rebellious even though it's really just a big contradiction.
Joe ever actually really cared about the COVID stuff as much as he pretended to?
My read is a little different. I think he does care about it, but I think the vibes are that that's a Democrat liberal thing and not a right-wing Trump thing. So even though the facts are exactly as you laid out, he didn't feel like that was a thing to challenge Trump on because it's right-wing coded.
The moment that really made Krystal question Joe came when he interviewed Trump and didn't ask him anything tough about the pandemic. Joe had spent years criticizing the government's handling of COVID-19. But when it came time to question Trump about it, he let him off the hook. For Krystal, that was a turning point. She had once thought Joe was genuinely trying to challenge the system. But after that interview, it seemed clear that his political shift was more about going with what was easy and comfortable for him, rather than standing by the principles he used to believe in.
It is incumbent upon you, if you're going to accept that opportunity, to interview the candidate for the president of the United States and the former president of the United States.
And it's not just about COVID. Joe's failure to challenge Trump on anything shows a bigger issue. He's willing to ignore major problems just to stay in line with certain political groups. This is the same Joe who used to call out things that didn't make sense, but now he's just going along with it. Krystal believes Joe's political journey has been shaped by the same pressures that affect a lot of people in power. The desire to stay comfortable and keep the approval of the powerful. Joe started out wanting to shake things up, but now he's just part of the establishment. And that's a big letdown for Krystal.
Challenging position for him. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And I know, he's doing his best to navigate it. He's obviously always been really super upfront about who he knows and who he's friends with and how that can impact his views, etc. And I think that's the best you can do. And then you also have to try to check your own personal relationship biases.
It's clear that Joe Rogan's move towards supporting Trump and the right-wing establishment is more than just a personal challenge. It's part of a bigger trend of once idealistic figures getting co-opted by the forces they used to fight against. It's a tough reality for anyone who believed Joe could be different. But as Krystal and others point out, Joe's story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of fame, wealth, and power. Once you have those things, it's easy to forget what really matters. And for Joe, that's come at the cost of his integrity. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one.